Hey, what is up? This is David, and today I thought I would do a video lesson in front of the camera this time, and because this is a very special lesson of mine. I mean, this is one of those things that had a tremendous impact in my life. I mean, not like the other lessons did not have a tremendous impact in my life, but this ranks right up there at the top of the list. And this is all about influencing our mind and changing our mindset and our psychology. And with this one simple little exercise, I was able to stop a lot of my bad behaviors and a lot of my bad habits. Like my habit of procrastination, I was able to fix with this exercise. My habit of smoking, I used to be a smoker for a really long time. And now I've been off of smoking for, I think, 9 years now because of this single exercise. And a ton of my other bad habits I've had before, they were all completely eliminated because of this exercise. So I give a big credit to this concept right here that you're about to learn. And this concept is really about influencing our mind on a deep level. But first and foremost, we first have to bring awareness to some of these bad beliefs and our bad behaviors that is really stopping us from getting to what we want to get to. So that's why things like meditation are really important, because they help you become more conscious of these bad types of behaviors. So that's why, meditation is a very important thing, because it helps us bring awareness to these types of behaviors. And now after we become aware of these behaviors though, after they become like a forefront of our reality, now we have to change these behaviors so that we don't act in them in the same way again. So how we're going to do that is through this little concept known as pain and pleasure. Remember, I talked about pressure and how that was really important to us, that we need some kind of pressure to really compel us to take action and to really even get us into flow, right? It really helps us out in our lives because, some of the greatest things, they are right outside of our comfort zone. And if we continue to have that kind of small little pressure in our lives, then it really compels us to become better and better in whatever it is that we're trying to become. And so we're using pressure in a way that's more internal this time. So it's going to be like an internal type of pressure deep within our minds. So this lesson is all about pain and pleasure and using this simple little concept into our lives, but it can have a powerful effect in your mind. So what we're trying to do is create inner pressure deeply inside our minds so that we can take a lot more action. We can be on our way to achieving our goals. And so this simple little concept of using pain and pleasure goes a little something like this. What we're really trying to do is attach pain to some of our limiting beliefs and our old behaviors and our old thought patterns. And so we're attaching so much pain to this old behavior that we will do anything to change our behavior. And then at the same time, we're also linking pleasure to new empowering beliefs, to this new way of life. So we're both kind of using both the carrot and the stick, or I guess the stick and the carrot all at the same time. And it creates this big cascade of momentum and pressure so that we can actually start doing things. And you have to understand that human beings, how we behave is we will do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. We will do far more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. Let me give you an example. For example, let's say that you lost your phone. Imagine that you lost your phone right now. How do you feel? You might have a mild heart attack if you lost your phone right now, right? I mean, you would look everywhere for your phone if you lost your phone. You would look in every nook and cranny of your room. You would go to the places you've been to today and look everywhere, right? You would go to the coffee shop you've been to. You would ask your friends. You would call everybody to see and ask where your phone is. So we have this huge motivation to avoid this kind of loss. But at the same time, let's say that you're trying to buy a new phone, the newest and greatest iPhone. You want to bring a lot of pleasure to your life by getting this phone. But you're not going to have the same type of motivation to buying this new phone than you did with finding your lost phone. So we will do far more to protect ourselves from losing something, protect ourselves from getting pain than to gain pleasure. So that's how human behavior works. We will do far more things to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. That's why pressure is so important. And so with this exercise, after this lesson, we're really trying to bring the pain into your life so that we can start to change and transform our life around. And this concept, pain and pleasure, is based on concepts from NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And neuro-linguistic programming is a newer branch of psychology that can create radical changes in people in a very short amount of time. And this concept I've actually borrowed from Tony Robbins, and he uses a lot of NLP concepts throughout his seminars and throughout his programs. And Tony Robbins, he was like a big role model of mine as I was growing up. And so if you see like Tony Robbins in like one of his live seminars, he uses these NLP techniques to creating radical change in people in a very short amount of time. And like the old way of changing people through therapy, the old Freudian way was like having people sit in a chair for years at a time and talking to their therapist, and then gradually they'll start to change their life, right? But what NLP is doing is like flipping that on its head and creating changes in people's lives as quickly as possible. And it's now possible through technology, through new technology such as neuro-linguistic programming and the things that Tony Robbins and other people are doing. And I'll tell you, like Tony Robbins, he's a very expert at this stuff. He knows what he's doing because he can create some changes in people's lives. He did that to me. He brainwashed me to change my life around. And now I am sharing some of the concepts with you today. And this concept of using pain and pleasure, it stems from NLP, and it's something called an anchor. What is an anchor? Anchor is pretty much making connections to do two things. So, for example, like we can take a behavior or a belief and link that, attach that, connect that with a certain emotion. We're linking a behavior or belief and connecting that with a certain emotion, either positive or negative. And in this case, we're linking our old behavior, our old limiting beliefs and thought patterns with a painful emotion, and we're linking new powerful emotions or new powerful beliefs and behaviors with a positive emotion. And if we do this for long enough, if we do it repetitively with enough emotional intensity, then it becomes linked with each other. So I'll give you an example of this. I'm pretty sure many of you have heard of Pavlov and his experiment with his dogs. So if you don't know, I'll briefly go over this. So there's a psychologist back in the day known as Ivan Pavlov, and he did an experiment with his dogs where he would feed his dogs, and whenever he fed his dogs, he would ring a bell. And the next time he would feed his dogs, he would ring a bell. Next time he would feed his dogs, he would ring a bell. And the next time he did this, without even feeding the dogs any food, he would ring the bell and the dogs would start to salivate. They would start to get hungry because they anchored in their minds that whenever the bell was rung, they would get food. And this type of anchoring happens everywhere around us and we're just not aware of it. And so I'll give you an example. Maybe you can relate, but isn't there a type of person who every time you meet them, you have like these great positive feelings. You feel very happy around this person. Well, that's because the anchorings are firing within your bodies and your mind. Whenever you're with this person, attach good feelings. Whenever you're with this person, attach good emotions. With this person, good emotions. And the next time you see this person, even though you might have not said anything or you might be having not of a good day, but these good emotions will start to arise just because you have anchored it into your body. And on the flip side, a negative example of this, isn't there a person where you meet and you just always seem to have these negative emotions arise, right? Because that's a negative emotion, that's a negative anchoring. For example, this is just an example, but let's just say that you have a mother-in-law and your mother-in-law might not have the best personality, right? And so whenever you meet your mother-in-law, you get into arguments, you have like these bad negative emotions attached. And the next time you meet her, you have another argument and you have these negative emotions attached. And so the next time you meet her, even though you don't get into an argument or you're having a good day, everything, even though nothing bad is happening, you still have like these negative emotions firing because of that negative anchoring that happened. And so like what like this pain and pleasure, what we're really doing is it's kind of like taking our hard drive from a computer, like our old beliefs from the computer, and then we're scratching it up. We're scratching it up and scratching it up in a way that it won't run the same way anymore. Like that old behavior won't run the same way as it did. And instead, we're replacing it with a new hard drive so that we can create a new empowering life that really serves us in the future and in the present. And so we're going to use a certain procedure that I modeled after Tony Robbins. I've made my own customized version and I've honed this over the years. And he uses what is known as the Dickens process. And this process alone, seriously, has helped me with my bad addictions and my bad behaviors. This process alone has helped me to quit smoking for over 9 years now, just by using this exact same exercise. It has helped me to quit smoking. It has also helped me to stop procrastinating, stop being late, and it got rid of like all of my nasty behaviors and problems. And this is called the Dickens process because it's modeled after Charles Dickens and his book, The Christmas Carol, right? I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with the story. It's about this nasty personality type of guy named Ebenezer Scrooge. And during Christmas time, overnight, what happened was these three ghosts visited him at his house. And these were the ghosts of the Christmas past, the Christmas present, and the Christmas future. And I like to call these ghosts like the therapists, right? They're like the three therapists that help to really create change in Ebenezer Scrooge's life overnight, pretty much. So what they did was they really brought pain, they anchored pain into Scrooge's current behavior, current old limiting beliefs and these bad behaviors, and they link pleasure to like the new behaviors of like giving and being generous and everything like that. And Scrooge, what he did his entire life was he linked up in his head that being rich, being wealthy means that I need to be a taker. Being wealthy means that I need to be mean to everybody. I need to be an asshole to everybody. But what these therapists they did was change that mindset around and created a new anchor in his life, and they created a transformation in his life overnight. That's what we're doing with this process here. And I call this process the dance with time, because just like the three ghosts in that movie, I'm going to take you on a journey through time and through certain events in your life so that we can really become the best version of ourselves. So there are a few important things to remember throughout this exercise. First is that you're going to go through some pain. Yep, you're going to experience some pain. This can be a painful experience for you. And so it's very important for you to go through the entire thing in one sitting. Or else if you leave during the middle of this thing, you might influence your mind in a bad way, in a bad, painful way. So it's more important to set aside some time to go through the entire thing. And this exercise, this guided meditation, it's going to take about 45 minutes or so. So set aside 45 minutes to go through this exercise, and ideally in the morning. So right in the morning, after you do like your visualizations and everything, then you want to jump into this exercise. And it's not ideal to do it at night because you might be all fired up after this exercise. So it might be hard to sleep at night after you go through this exercise. And the second thing to remember is to put yourself in a nice and quiet and comfortable environment where you are not distracted, so that you can't be influenced by all these distractions, and where you can't distract other people. Because throughout this exercise, you're going to have some big emotions arise. Okay, it's going to be a little painful for you, and you're going to witness some powerful emotions, and you really want to express yourself to really release these emotions. All right, and so you might find yourself like crying or sobbing or shouting and screaming, and so you want to be in an environment where you're not really distracting other people. And so if you go to like one of Tony Robbins' seminars, live seminars, and he goes through this process, well, what he will do is he will turn off all the lights, so it'll be pitch black, and he will ask you to spread around so that you have a lot of room, privacy, room to yourself. And so you can hear like people crying and sobbing and cursing and shouting. And so you might experience the same thing. I know I did when I went through the same exercise. And you want to release those emotions inside of you. So it's important that you are in an environment that can be conducive for you to expressing your emotions. And the third thing is you want to let your emotions rise. Okay? Don't suppress them. I remember Marissa Peer, she is a great therapist and a psychologist. She says that emotions are better out than in. Emotions are kind of like gas. It is better out than trying to keep your gas in. So you really don't want to suppress your emotions. Because if you really suppress your emotions, they can hurt you down the line. It's very unhealthy for your mind. So think of this as a form of therapy. It's a very therapeutic type of process where you can just release yourself. And what that release does, it gives you relief in your mind and your body. You know, like those like passive aggressive type of people, where all of a sudden they're like these nice type of people, but then all of a sudden they like explode out of nowhere. They get angry out of nowhere. Well, that's because they have like their emotions really suppressed. So can become dangerous in the future. So you really want to release as much emotion as possible. And remember, you want to influence our subconscious mind. Subconscious mind speaks in emotions and intense emotions. Okay, so you really want to bring that emotional intensity so we can really change our belief and our behavior patterns. The subconscious mind also is influenced by repetition. Okay, you want to do this over and over again, not just once, but you want to do it over and over again. That's how we can really sink this deeply into the subconscious. And so the fourth thing that I want you to remember is, because like I said, the subconscious mind really likes repetition, is I want you to do this for a minimum of 7 days in a row. Minimum of 7 days in a row, every single day, one exercise a day. And that's why this week there's not a lot of content, but more activity and more of doing this activity. And so a minimum of 7 days, more is better. 14 ideally is better, and that way you can actually start to reap the rewards of this process and this exercise, but at least 7 days. And so there's a few ways on how to go about this. You can take one limiting belief, or behavior, and you can do that one belief for 7 days and do that same behavior for 7 days in a row. And you can do this if it's something that's very stubborn, that is hard for you to adopt a new mindset because this limiting belief has been in your life the whole time. So if it's a stubborn type of belief, you can do this for multiple times and really try to change your mindset with a new empowering belief. The second way you can do this is you can do multiple limiting beliefs. So just take like one limiting belief for one day, and then the next day you might say, try to change a different limiting belief, and then the third day a different limiting belief. So you can do that. Do whatever makes sense to you. So I'm going to give you some examples of some of these limiting beliefs. So some good examples that are very common of these type of limiting beliefs are I'm too young, or I'm too old, or I'm not good enough, or I don't have the intelligence, or I didn't go to school for this, I don't know enough, I can't learn this, I'm a minority. So those are some like big limiting beliefs, and there's also limiting beliefs in these areas. So you can take limiting beliefs related to finances, to relationships, to education and intellect, to your career, or even spiritually if you are spiritual. So you can think of some of those limiting beliefs and try to eradicate them with this exercise. So I'll give you some examples of like new powering beliefs that you can replace them with. So let's say you have a limiting belief of I'm too young. Well, you can say instead, you say youth is power because time is power, and I have time on my side because I am young. Or let's say I'm too old. Well, knowledge and wisdom is power, and I have those on my side. Or you can say like I'm a minority. And you can replace that belief with something like, I am special, I am unique. My uniqueness is what creates power for me. And another example could be something based on money, right? A lot of us have this, especially when we were growing up in our environments. We were influenced to believe that money is the root of all evil. Money is bad for us. Making too much money is bad for us. That kind of mindset will really, get us in the way from being the best version of ourselves. It's creating sabotage and success barriers in our lives. So we're really trying to remove that. And so you can really replace that with something like money is a vehicle for me to reach more people, to help more people. Money means abundance. I am wealthy in my life. I attract tons of abundance in my life. So you can replace those limiting beliefs with these new empowering ones. And number 5, this is really important, is you have to go at this with a good attitude and a full confidence and belief that you are going to change your mindset around. You can't go at this half-heartedly, because if you do, it's just not going to work. Again, you really have to bring the emotional intensity to this. So there's 2 attitudes that you have to go at this with. Is first and foremost, you must change. You must change. I must change. And the second attitude is I want to change. I want to change. Because we have to have both of those in place for us to really start changing our lives. I mean, don't you know some people who you really want to help to transform their lives, to help them out, but whatever you do, whatever you show them, it just falls on deaf ears, right? No matter what you do, they just won't change. It's because they don't have that attitude of wanting to change. I mean, they know that this change, this new behavior is good for them, but deep down inside, they just don't want to change. And there's a small percentage of the world that, it's hard for me to say, but that just can't be helped. They can't be helped because they have this attitude. So as long as this attitude exists, some people can never change. I mean, there's people that I know that are so addicted to smoking that even though they get cancer, even though on their last dying days, they're still smoking because they don't have the attitude of, I must change and I want to change. You need both of those in place for this to work. And what really influencing our subconscious mind really means is getting rid of those success barriers and getting rid of the sabotages that come in our lives. And we might not notice it, but we are actually sabotaging our own success a lot of the times. I know it's going to sound absurd. Sabotaging my own success. What are you talking about? I want success so badly. I want to achieve my goals so badly. But a lot of the times, the subconscious mind will always win over the conscious mind. The conscious mind is kind of like will, and the subconscious mind is kind of like imagination. And when these are in conflict with each other, imagination always wins over will, meaning the subconscious mind will always win over the conscious mind. The conscious mind is kind of like the will, and the subconscious mind is kind of like the power. No matter how much we're willing to go after our goals and to achieve things and to get ourselves into flow, if there's a blockage in our subconscious mind, the subconscious mind will always win because it has all of the power. So that's what we're trying to do, is to remove this sabotaginess and this barrier that gets in our way from really living the best life that we can possibly live. So I hope you can transform yourself and change your mindset with this exercise, and I will see you on the other side of that transformation, my friend. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.